Along the Gulf Coast in Texas, witch bottles, not witch bottles, but witch bottles, like the nose, the cats, the spells, they're washing ashore. They're believed to be created for warding off evil spirits. The Heart Research Institute for Gulf of Mexico Studies collects these bottles, but they do not open them. Not only because of the superstitions associated with them, but because they're full of things like iron nails, rusty pins, hair, and urine. They originate from the Caribbean and South America, and they're part of an old school spell casting tradition aimed at trapping harmful intentions and protecting the bottles' owners. Hundreds of similar bottles have been found in the United Kingdom, reflecting historical beliefs in witches and their supposed ability to cause harm. The bottles were thought to reflect and torment the witch, providing protection for the owner. While the superstition behind these bottles may seem outdated, their presence along the Texas coast adds a touch of mystique to the ongoing beachcombing efforts of the Heart Research Institute. The article we're discussing is from the Fort Worth Star Telegram, written by Mark Price, dated November 20th, 2023. Richard, which bottles are you interested in?
Well, this deals with a very kind of primitive superstition, which, we could kind of laugh off if it wasn't for what I think the whole concept of witches is a degradation of women. Some men were accused of it in the olden days, but primarily the targets were women. In Europe during medieval times, tens of thousands of women were executed, tortured. Why? Because they were different. They didn't believe the religious dogma. They dressed differently. They asked questions. Maybe they danced a funny way. I mean, it was just strange. You read the stories about that stuff, and somebody didn't like somebody, they'd go talk to two of their friends and say, well, maybe she's a witch. And then the next thing you know, they're tying them down and torturing to get them to tell who the rest of the witches are. That whole concept, I find, should just be gotten rid of. I mean, there are still, unfortunately, some places in what I would call the undereducated parts of the world where that kind of belief still exists. But the thing that I haven't found, and I did a little research on this, I haven't found any evidence, maybe some of you have, that any of these bottles actually do anything, pro or con, good or bad. And I don't know why they could put a hazmat suit on and open them up and see what happens. But I don't understand why they wouldn't open them to see if anything happens. Collecting them and have them sit there, I don't know what that does, but it's just kind of a strange story.
Witches to play. So I couldn't take this story very seriously, obviously. Oh, shit, now I got bottles stuck on my fingers. And I had a really hard time, writing up a real narrative for it. So I ended up doing just a bunch of random thoughts like I've done in the past. And when I look out my window, so many bottles to see that it's strange. It sure is strange. Must be the season of the witch. I meet a lot of witches at my crystal store. I only got one bottle off so far. And a lot of them that I meet do seem to have issues. And I wonder if maybe that's because they're bottling their emotions. And I know a lot. I know.
See what you did there.
Yeah, see what I did there? And I know a lot of Wiccans are into nature and keeping it safe. And I have to wonder, because they mentioned that probably a lot of these are coming out of the Caribbean, they're coming out of South America. So they're probably not Wiccan. But when I think of witches, I think of Wiccans. And I know a lot of them are really into nature. And I was wondering if they're doing these, and I actually know a couple of girls who have done this that are Wiccans, if they're thinking about how they affect the wildlife. When they throw these out into the ocean, are they hitting fish in the head or anything? I don't know. And if I noticed that all the ones in the pictures in the story, they all seem to be liquor bottles. So maybe maybe they're not witches bottles. Maybe they're spirit bottles. What do you think, Jimmy? See what I did there?
Yeah. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. You were, I think you were getting me warmed up because.
Yeah, I'll be playing her through the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Is there a cover charge?
No cover.
I have moved further away from thinking that humans are the superior beings on this planet, as if that were possible. But this story makes me move even further away from that. In fact, we're destroying the planet now because of our own superstitions. It isn't enough that we listen to these invisible deities that strangely have nipples and belly buttons when they tell us that we have to sacrifice animals or even slaughter each other. But we now have to litter our oceans with human feces in order to, the way I took it was, I don't know, contain evil spirits or whatever. But can you imagine saying to yourself, like, I don't care if another turtle dies. I have to get rid of these evil feces and throw them into the ocean. And yeah, I mean, to Richard's point, this is why education is so important. I mean, there are people out there teaching their children that they can capture evil intentions, evil spirits, witches via their waste products and put them in glass bottles and throw them into the ocean to ward them off. I think there is a more subversive tactic happening here, a military event taking place, if you will. And I think this should be considered an act of war because the I mean, think about it. These people down here, they're launching their demons at us, right? I mean, they are using our own curiosity to attack us. We don't see these coming via radar, right? They're just using these as like a sophisticated naval attack, and it should be a biological attack, a long-range naval biological assault. That's sophisticated because, you know, we can't detect it, and then we actually go out there and scoop it up and save it. And so all we have to do is open it, and I'm telling you, this is the next big contamination. It's the great Trojan horse of our generation. So I don't know what Texas A&M is doing over there, collecting piss-filled bottles off the beach. I mean, I think it's good that they're cleaning up, but I don't think their donors know where all their donations are going to. The piss department. I mean, I don't know how they would like it if I peed the bottle and launched it at them. So those are just my thoughts. I don't know. Aaron, are you scared about this attack we're undergoing, or what?
I'm terrified. That's why I'm here today. This was the article that got me to show up today. We have to defend ourselves. We all need to head down to the Gulf Coast and take care of these bottles. No, this story reminded me of a woman I knew when I was actually a missionary for the Mormon church that we were teaching, and she would keep a bottle of just a glass of water by the inside of her front door, and every morning she'd throw it out. And she believed that evil spirits that were trying to get into her home would get trapped by the bottle, and so she could throw them out every morning.
Did she at least water a plant with it?
I don't know. And it's straight.
That would make the plant evil, though. Then, right?
I don't know the ins and outs of evil spirit capturing and releasing. All I know is from Scooby-Doo and Ghostbusters. So maybe, I don't know, but there's no evidence to suggest that any of this stuff works, right? We know of 4 forces in nature, right? There's gravity, which, you know, object pull, so that's what keeps us tied to the earth. There's electromagnetism, light that goes through the air, and magnets. There's the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force, which keep atoms together. And we can see the effect of these hands. We can study them. We can drop things and see how they hit the ground. We can heat things up with electromagnetic waves. We can move things around with magnets. We can see the impact that these things have on them. Stuff in bottles, they don't. I feel really bad saying this, but they have zero impact on your body and on your life, and they have zero impact on anybody else's. The only thing they do is the light from them bounces off of them and comes into your eyeballs. That's the only effect that they have on you. Don't impact your mind. They don't impact your mental space. The only thing that does that is when you give them space in your mind to impact you. But putting stuff in a bottle isn't going to affect someone's intentions towards you over there. They probably don't even know you put stuff in a bottle. How are they going to be affected by stuff in a bottle?
On the contrary, I think this is proof. So the Mormon church collected so many pee bottles that Aaron left the community. That's how they got rid of him. They had to ward him off.
Jimmy, you know me. You just know me. You're in my head. You know me too well, Jimmy. I've been keeping that secret for years.
Oh,
No wonder
so-
why you got this article.
Yeah, intentions aren't a force of nature. You can't study intentions. You can't. There's no intention waves that go from one person to the other. Someone intending something to do something towards you, it doesn't work until they actually turn that into an action. Then that affects you, right? So I wish people would be a little more skeptical, and I wish people understood how the world worked a little bit more. That sticking things in bottles, it's not an effective defense against anything except hoarding things in your house. Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kelly said it interesting at the beginning about he couldn't hardly take this seriously. I mean, it's almost like something out of, about 1690 or something, that anybody would still believe this stuff. But it's true that there are societies where people still, have, like Santeria in the Caribbean and various other kinds of, strange beliefs about supernatural things. And they want to put their supernatural, whatever it is, in that bottle and send it up here.
I curse Papa Doc with my voodoo, right?
I wonder if any of the bottles stop along there when he was there. Maybe that's why he left. Who knows? But it just seems like, and I'm really curious about why this organization is collecting all these things and not doing anything with them. They're just sitting. Where's the big pile of these? They said somewhere, they're just using up storage space. So it'd be interesting to talk to some of those people and find out what is their goal or purpose, or if they learned anything from this. Not that I really want to spend much time investigating it, but
The article does mention that they were doing a survey of things that wash up on the beach over the course of years. So it might, that might actually be some fun, interesting research. I'm not so sure that it might actually help in some ways, like teaching us about ocean currents, right?
well, that for sure. Obviously, they're coming up here from down below, so the currents are coming from South America up here, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's just a strange story, and
It's definitely a strange story.
but it's nice to know that it helped Aaron get free.
Yeah, I'm glad Aaron was able to break free from it too. Totally. And I want to give a warning to all you good Christians out there. If you do see one of these bottles, don't touch them. You don't want to get somebody else's religion all over your fingers. So just stay away from them.
Yeah. So I do want to reflect though on what Richard just said. Like, yeah, I can't believe people are doing this, but it is happening. And
Yeah.
isn't this just greater, I don't know, I don't want to say proof, but more reason to be concerned with the things that people do because of what their religion tells them. So while it may be silly to us, and we're certainly having a lot of fun, other people take their religion that is unsubstantiated, excuse me, and they say, well, God's on my side, so I'm gonna wage war, or we can pollute because climate change is not real because God wouldn't let that happen. Things like that. I mean, while we say, well, I can't believe this is happening and those people are stupid, there's generational abuses happening to where people are just kind of raised this way without ever questioning it. And, the flip side is they question it and they're the bad guy, and nobody wants to be the bad guy. And so it is cause for concern. And this is exactly why education is important, why exposure to new ideas, exposure to new culture, travel, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, test your boundaries, figure something out, learn something.
Learn science.
Yeah, right.
And become skeptical of things, question things, ask questions. Don't just accept things for what they appear to be, because oftentimes they're not.
Yeah, it's easy for us to say, and man, I really just, I think it's one of the greatest gifts I ever got was the courage to turn around and question those things I'd been taught. And, there's so much opportunity for that. And I think that's why people like us are getting together like this, isn't it?
Yes.
when I think about what would inspire someone to put together a witch bottle to ward off evil, or whatever superstitious practice people do, I'm like, what would motivate you to do, like, seriously? And I think about, it might be a lack of feeling like you have no control in your life,
Mm.
or feeling like you need like you just have the need that maybe feel that something is in control of your life, or has some kind of purpose or plan. And I think in addition, yes, all those are all great ideas. We need to teach skepticism. We need to teach critical thinking. We need to educate people. But I think there's also an emotional component that we really lack, especially here in the United States. We don't teach people how to confront these feelings of maybe loneliness, of fear of the unknown, and all those things that might make you someone turn to religion to get a better sense of security or answers. Because at the end of the day, there's no answers. We don't know why the universe exists. We don't know why we're here, if there is a reason. We just are just kind of here. And those are really scary, emotional things to have to grapple with. So it would be nice that we, also had maybe some emotional education for people.
Well, fortunately, little by little, science and thinking and reason and looking at evidence has got us past so many of the previous unknowns that scared people. So hopefully that'll continue to happen.
And that's why I think it's so important for people like us to keep saying the things like we're saying, to lead people to a more rational type of thinking, and even if we only affect one person over the course of a year, that's at least getting somewhere. And I don't be disheartened by something like that. If you can change one mind, you've done your part. Each small candle lights a dark corner of the world. I say that all the time, and it's true. So yeah, I mean, it's really important that if you want to spread this enlightenment, you got to go out there and be the enlightened one and show people, right?
People do change their minds. It takes a while, but they do change their minds.
And it can have a domino effect.
On Aaron's point too,
they change their mind.
Yeah, right.
On Aaron's point too, what would drive somebody to feel like this is what they need to do? I mean, yeah, you have to feel like you're at the end of your rope, and think about the societal and political situations coming from Central and South America, right? The economic disaster that most of those countries live through every single day, a lack of law and order, poverty, gang violence, rape, human trafficking. I mean, these are rampant symptoms of a society that really just never got organized.
And throwing bottles at it isn't going to help, right?
Yeah. But for some of these people, it's like, well, we got to turn. We have to. Nothing else is going to work. Nothing. The only way to turn is toward my superstition, and of course, they don't say it that way, but that's where they end up. And so, while there's plenty of opportunity to laugh and make jokes. To get more serious, though, we need to kind of think, what is driving people to do this? And, I don't think the answer is a good one.
Well, I think in the places where people are uneducated, probably, from my research, they're usually part of a group that has a leader, and the leader tells them, this is how you get rid of your bad situation. You do this, or you do that, or you cut off the head of a chicken and spread the blood
like
around.
A priest.
Well, yes, or a pastor, or an imam, or a rabbi, or whatever. Somebody who's supposedly connected upstairs, that's getting those messages down, like the Pope's supposed to do, and then passing it on. And so the people who don't have any real knowledge of how the world really works, they don't know science, they've grown up with somewhat of a sort of a, believe indoctrination, not a study, not a investigate indoctrination, but a believe indoctrination. And so they're in that group, and the people in that group say, hey, this is what we do. So they do it. I think it's very different. I think Aaron's hit a point where when you're in more educated societies, the thing about the emotional thing is probably more real, where in the more uneducated ones, it's more of a doctrinaire thing of the group you're in, and you have to kind of follow along so you don't get kicked out or shunned like some religious groups do.
Yeah. I think it's really important to touch on Jimmy's point too, that a lot of people are doing this out of desperation because they don't know where else to turn. And that is kind of a sad thing. And yeah. Any last thoughts from anybody?
Good discussion.
Yeah, I thought it was too, even though we got a few jokes in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's
Pee-filled bottles, folks. Pee-filled bottles. You got to joke about
if
it.
you can't laugh a little bit in these times, you're never going to make it.
yeah, right. You know what? I had one final thought. Wait, maybe there's an island of witches out there, and this is the only way they know how to communicate, and they're sending us messages for help, the SOS in a bottle. There could be witches in mortal danger out there that need to be saved. I should really hurry, go help. If you want more from the nonprofits, click here. Get me a boat.